What we're planning is a 24-hour, non-stop, and I'm going to call it a filibuster.
Okay.
Speakers from across disciplines. It could be a student group, it could be a group from political science, and these groups or individuals will sign up for a 1 minute, 2 minute, 3 minute time slot. And what we want to do is open a conversation about ethics across the disciplines. And then to follow that filibuster up, we're thinking about different, a series of seminars to kind of bring everything together. Do you think this kind of an event would have value to our students? What do you think they would perceive? What do you think that they might take away from this kind of an event? How do you see it configured?
I think the first thought that just comes to my mind is how are you going to get students to be there? Because I know as a topic, ethics is not a fun thing to listen to because it makes you judge and perceive all of your own morals and ideas and thoughts, and it kind of makes you second guess. So my first thought is, how do you get the students to be there, to come to this, to have the filibuster, to listen to it with open minds, open hearts, if you will. Because I have my ethics, but are my ethics the same as your ethics? And so that's kind of where my question is.
Where's the incentivizing of the students to get them in there? Which it might be, you know, encouraging extra credit in some of the classes. I think a lot of times once you can kind of breadcrumb that, but then you get into the point of, you know, asking professors, like, how do you get that? You know, I mean, if you have something that's tangible, just whatever, you know, gift cards or whatever, is making it kind of more of an exciting event opposed to like, let's go talk about ethics. You know, because from my experience with students, they all believe that what they perceive as being ethical is correct. I mean, I have students that turn in things that they did the last semester and they say, well, it's my own work. And it's like, well, you're plagiarizing yourself. Just like little differences like that of, you know, they don't even kind of sometimes know what they don't know. Whatever way you can incentivize either through extra credit or games or prizes or something to where they want to go.
Right, that's it. And food.
And food.
Food always works too.
T-shirts.
T-shirts. And I know with the tab, they have those card readers. Have y'all seen that? Where they literally just swipe the student's card, and then what they do is they give you a email spreadsheet of every student that attended. So it might also, from the perspective of the professor, how are you going to make it easy for me, you know, to give extra credit or something? But if you send out that email and say, these are all the students that, you know, came to it, it would be easy for the professor to, you know, look up a name and say, okay, good, you win. But just kind of making it easier for the professor to incentivize them.
You know, you can use the incentives to get them there. It's getting them to participate also would be a key. I mean, and I was like, do you make it a contest where it's like, hey, you make so many comments, you know, you get so many points or something like that. Like, there's got to be something to get them to talk as well. Because I mean, you know, we'll offer them points to go to the lectures and stuff, but they'll just go there and just sit there, and then they leave afterwards, you know. And that's kind of, it was just like, oh, I was there. You know, I was playing on my phone the whole time, but I was there, you know, and then I left and got points. But so like, there needs to be something to actually encourage them to participate in it as well.
One way I think is like games and stuff like that, and then you can have questions. Everyone have a form they fill out, and you know, say, you know, what, like, you know, say, you know, what is your idea of ethics, A, B, C, D, you know, where they can just circle and do like that, and then have a questionnaire, you know, and then someone go over that with them and have them raise their hands. Okay, who really picked A? Well, why did you pick A? Why did you pick B? What do you think? Things like that.
And with your student organizations, I mean, I know like they give like points and stuff. If I'm remembering correctly, you know, you have to have so many points, and so that might be something.
The ethical standard, we still have like the Order of the Engineer, and along those lines, it's kind of like the Hippocratic Oath, but not to that degree. It's still like we're still working to the best of our ability. We're still doing our best job, no matter what we put our mind to and our energy into. And so I guess our ethical standard is to be high and to produce the best work, not to cut corners, not to plagiarize, and to have your work be your own.
I guess the weird thing is, so being a part of the classics, it's so focused on languages, of all the classical languages, and so there's a lot of undergrads and some graduate students that use translations to when they give their translations of their texts and stuff. That they get called out on and stuff, and they get in trouble for it. So ethics would definitely be very important for them. I'm not sure what our actual standard is on it, because I'm in that weird thing too, where it's like, I'm an archaeologist, but like I'm required to have the languages, so it's kind of like I'm there, I'm doing my work and I'm there, but I'm like, hey, when I'm done, so I'm in that weird situation. But I mean, I've seen it, I've definitely seen, where, and especially even too with like the papers that we write and all that stuff, the plagiarism, all that stuff. So I mean, I see the value of it, and I'm sure, if something got organized for it, CMLL would definitely jump on it too, especially going with the translations. That would really be impactful for the students for that. But I'm not sure. I mean, they preach that it's wrong, and they preach, come up with your own translations. Use dictionaries, use the online dictionary if you need to, but not to just literally show up with a Greek on one side and English on the other and just read the English off. Like, the archaeology is kind of, really, their tech doesn't have anything that really focuses on the archaeology. It's more so you do your summer experience with archaeology, and then the archaeology at Tech, I think, is more so focused on the Mayans and the Mesoamericans and stuff like that. So I actually don't participate too much in that side here. It's more so a lot of just doing the languages and then doing the archaeology on the side for an MA program at least. There are definitely ethics that go along with archaeology, such as stepping on other people's toes and taking their work and stuff. But I'm kind of under because I worked on two vastly different digs between England and Jordan. Jordan was the controller of the dig, we'll just call him the controller. Basically was like, this is my area that I specialize in, because I also went there to work on research for my thesis as well. And he was like, this is my area of specialty, or this is my area that I have permits for. You can't use anything that's in my area. And then whereas England was like very open, they were open to sharing information, share your research, share all that stuff. So I was able to do, all sorts of research. They gave me papers that hadn't been published yet that I could use to help me research for Roman mining. And they actually set me up to drive, which was scary, driving on the wrong side of the road down to Wales to go to the gold mines down there in Coffee. And so, they were greatly helpful versus Jordan was very closed off. And so there was, I liked the sharing of information. So for my ethics, I really did enjoy people working together to better our understanding of it versus someone being like, this is my research, it's mine, and I don't want to share it with you because you're going to steal my ideas, where it should instead be just a sharing of information.
As an engineer and as doing research, I can see the viewpoint of your Jordan associate. Because in my family especially, I've had two people that have lost their research to other people because they stole them. And so it caused my cousin to spend 9 years in graduate school because he had to redo his thesis because someone stole his work. My great uncle was a horticulturalist here at Tech, and his work was stolen too. And so I can understand how, this is mine, don't touch it.
Yeah.
But I think what you're saying with the sharing of the matter is it's ethical that you can share it, but give credit to that person. One big thing that I see now, because I didn't see it as an undergrad, is that we grow up with our standards and with our ideas from whatever we've been brought up with. But does anyone truly know the definition of ethics? What is ethical? I have a feeling that a lot of students come into Tech and they have no idea what ethics are. They just come up with their ideas, their standards, and they come in, they're like, of course this is ethical. And when in the real world, it's not. And so I think that's a big point, that when starting this, like maybe the first speaker talks about what ethics are. And not like, here's a 12-hour lecture on it, but I think it's nice to kind of give a good starting point of what are ethics. Why are we even talking about them? Why are they important? Because you can have the most unethical, scrupulous people in the world, and they're CEOs of companies because they were unethical and they got that way. But then you have other CEOs that were completely ethical, and their companies are either doing better than your unethical people or doing worse. But it just shows a vast difference of why ethics are important.
I think a Q&A would be awesome. You know, literally just open it up, because I think Chris is right as far as like, you know, we all come from very different backgrounds, and what was okay maybe in my family wasn't okay in your family. But we all come together in this academic house to learn. And so what does justify stealing versus sharing? I think that's a huge thing that I see a lot with undergraduates, because we have many case studies at the end of basically all of our courses, and we tell them, you know, you are more than welcome to talk about this case with everybody in this whole entire class. That is okay, but you must do your own work. And then that's where it gets fuzzy, and it gets fuzzy real quick. Because if I look at your properties and see somebody else created this, you did not do, I mean, you may have edited this, and that's great, but you did not, this is not your original work. And what constitutes that? And how does it go from the sharing of knowledge, which we were very open to in our field as far as that's concerned. I mean, once again, we're looking at a different, you know, this isn't research. There's a lot of, you know, at a higher level it gets, you know, to where it's personal choices versus, you know, sharing of information. But at this level, it was, you know, you should talk about this. And that's okay. That's not unethical to talk about the case. We have told you that this is okay, but when you actually go to start doing your own work, you have to present it as your own. And so for us, we are constant. I mean, this is an every semester thing that we're doing. It's not like we've done this once and then, you know, you have to visit back in 5 years. It is every single semester we talk about this. So it might be good to just have like a Q&A with, you know, somebody from your department and ethics to talk about, you know, what is ethical, you know, what is stealing people's information, and what is people sharing their information. That's two totally different animals that they may or may not be aware of where those lines are. There's a lot, you know, especially with finances. I mean, in our field, we go to jail. We're not going to go like, that's getting wrong. Like, I mean, there's lots of things that can happen. So in our field, it's a lot more, we have a lot more conversations about ethics. As far as like our actual certification test, that is like 15% of it. So for our field, it's a must. Like, we don't get the option not to talk about ethics. So the way that we talk about it may be a little bit different than a mechanical engineer or an architect or somebody in education or something of that nature. And so I think for the students in our field, that would be really good. I just wonder, you know, when we put the students up, do we want to, you know, look at specific areas, or is it just broad, or where would you, your department, like to see that go? I mean, I like the focus in on it. I appreciate that, because, you know, we all have different views of that coming into the field. But are you trying to hit everybody, or are you trying to get small little sections all the time?
I think variety is good, because we don't want to bore people, and that's what I see a lot of times, especially with the students. You know, the more variety you can have, then it keeps their interest. And then it lets them know something that they didn't know. Because like someone said, that they think they know, but they don't really know. And so they hear the main broad, you know, we hear that in the classes and the professors and everybody. But then they may hear something, oh, I didn't think of that, I didn't know that, I didn't see it that way.
I think it would be hard. Honestly,
I
think it would be hard, unless you're going to be at the football stadium UT weekend. I mean, unless you know, unless you're going to go to Tent City and tell. I mean, I think it would be hard without having some really good incentives.